27-22, Vikings get the win at home. It was a game that was a slow start for Kirk Cousins. It was one of those games where it was like, man, maybe this offense just won't get clicking. They eventually did. The Jets were able to move the ball up and down the field at times, but that red zone offense was not so good. Give credit to the Vikings for making it difficult for them there. The Vikings offense in the red zone, 3 for 3. The Jets in the red zone, 1 for 6. That was the difference in the game.
Exactly right. And that's kind of how Minnesota's been winning football games. I mean, it's another game where you go, I don't think Minnesota was the better team on the field, but they won the game. And there's something to it. You know, it's one of those now where you can't go like, oh, it's luck or whatever. They're comfortable, and they win situational football more times than not. And I think that's the big thing that's putting them over the edge. But yeah, they're kind of cool with like, hey, you want to move the ball, great, but it's going to be hard to score a touchdown. You know, this was a game. You know, Mike White played good. He did a lot of good things. Had the early interception. The Jets made some mistakes and did some things that they had not done here over the last 7-8 weeks, minus Patriot games, right? Start the game off with the interception by Mike White. Wasn't a good play, a good read, whatever, good throw. Nothing about it was good. That gave them a field goal, the Vikings, right? Then the next drive, the Vikings to go down 10-3. There's a bunch of 4-yard runs and some bad penalties by the Jets that really let them get down there in field goal position or in position to score the touchdown. It wasn't like they were like, picking apart the Jets or anything like that. It was just a little bit of like, yeah, Jets being undisciplined and the Vikings were patient. Then, they let up a big pass to Jalen Reagor. I don't know if you remember that. They kind of had it covered. Cousins just threw it up. They had 2 people there. They haven't been a team that's been letting up those type of big plays. That was a big moment. And then they panicked, down 17-3, ball midfield, and I thought Saleh panicked and wait, the Vikings hang in there. It's been hard. Your defense is okay. They go for it on a 4th and 1 in midfield, don't get it. And the Vikings get a field goal to make it 20-3. So there were some things the Jets did, but they battled. They hung in there. But, yeah, the fact that they couldn't punch the ball in the end zone was certainly, one of the biggest issues of the day.
Yeah, threw the ball 57 times did Mike White, 369 yards, no touchdowns. A lot of those yards to Garrett Wilson. That connection has been fun to watch so far. Threw at him 15 times, 8 catches for Garrett Wilson, 162 yards. But back to the Vikings, something you brought up, too.
Yeah.
These one-score games.
Right.
The Vikings have won a lot of them. In fact, they're now 9-0. In one-score games. No team since 1940 has gone 9-0 or better in a full season. Got a pop quiz for you.
Pop quiz, asshole.
So Pete is throwing this at you because you mentioned maybe this is sort of a learned skill at this point.
Right.
And maybe we can count on the Vikings being able to do this for the rest of the regular season, maybe into the playoffs too. Who knows? He goes, what team had the most wins in one-score games last season with a record of 8-2-1?
Okay, last season, one-score wins.
One-score games are 8 wins, 2 losses, and a tie. Ooh, that almost should give it away, maybe.
Damn,
Who tied last?
I know the tie is the tie is killing me. Damn, who had the tie last year? Hold on. All right, so just tell me, who is it?
It was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, the Steelers. Jeez,
who got
rated in the playoffs?
Yeah, maybe they just didn't play a close enough game. I will say though, there was another team in my notes here. I have the 2019 Seattle Seahawks, who had won 9 one-score games in a season, and they lost in the playoffs a one-score game.
Yeah.
My argument almost would be, and I was talking about this with Pete beforehand,
right?
It's like I think it's good. I think winning one-score games is a good way to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily helps you once you get into the playoffs.
I would agree. It's a different game in the playoffs. And then, just with the exhaustion of, hey, it's win or go home, the coaches take a few more chances, players are a little more alert, and, hey, the adrenaline of the playoffs and things, all right, they don't mess up as much. And, yes, I agree with you. That does not translate to, oh, wait, you're going to win one-score games in the playoffs against teams that are really good and are really well coached and, have a lot of information on what you do in that situation. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that translates necessarily. And that's where I'm a little bit still torn with Minnesota. I know they're good, obviously. I'm not trying to say that, but I don't put them in the elite part of the NFL for the same thing we've been talking about for weeks. There's just very few times where I've watched them and gone, whoa, they're so dominant, or this is so great about them. They win the football games, and there's nothing you can do to take away that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, they won that by the skin of their teeth yesterday, and we're fortunate. And I was a little, one of the things is I kind of got mad at the Jets because I didn't think they ran the ball, enough on the first time when they were stopped down in the end zone. The one that ended up Braxton Berrios could have caught it, could have been a better throw by Mike White in the end zone. The play before that, they threw it on a 3rd and 1. He threw it to Garrett Wilson. The play before that, they did run it up the middle, which I had forgotten about. And I want to say sorry, too, because I think I said on the highlight show, I was mad they didn't run the ball. And to me, the biggest thing was I just wanted to see a James Robinson or something like that who's bigger, more powerful quarterback be underneath the center, run downhill type of run, and that's where I was a little critical. But, hey, the Jets are still a really good football team. They definitely are. That's a tough one there. And I think the silver lining would be is just go, hey, the Vikings are 10-2, and I think if you took away records and people just went for the look test, they'd probably look at you guys and go, wait, I think that's the 10-2 team, and that's the 7-5 team.
Yeah.
So they're a young team. They're learning how to win. They made some mistakes yesterday. Mike White did miss some throws, but still, he played well. But that's not the way the Jets want to play there. It was a little sloppy yesterday. The fact that they couldn't run the ball at all, and then the defense, with some penalties like we talked about and a few inopportune big plays, something we haven't seen from them.
What'd you make of the T-shirts the Jets players made that a lot of them were wearing?
Yeah.
Boarding the team plane.
Well,
had Mike White.
Yeah, it was cool.
Mike effing White.
They obviously have some sort of camaraderie there. They were, they're very into that. They were wearing the Milfinator Zach Wilson shirts early on and before the season started too.
That's true.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to read into it or not. Trust me, I mean, I do, and I get that, but I don't know. And then the next day they're wearing Mighty Duck stuff to the game.
Yeah, what was the reason for that?
I don't know, because they're in Minnesota, I guess. I don't know. They're very into their fashion, the New York Jets, apparently.
Congratulations to the Vikings, 10 wins. They're 10-2, and Vikings fans listening are going to go, I mean, what do we got to do to convince you guys? You know what? It's very simple. Win the Super Bowl.
No,
you win the Super Bowl, we'll be on board.
It is weird because I feel like we disrespect the Vikings a lot, and I don't want to.
Their own fans probably feel it too.
But I'm just trying. Well, yeah,
make
Florio
a run
feels
through
it.
Make a run through the playoffs. Get to the Super Bowl, maybe even. I'll tell you that you don't have to win the Super Bowl. Get to the.
If you got to the Super Bowl, I'd be shocked. I guess I'm disrespecting them more, right? Mm-hmm. But yes, I'm just trying to be real about my assessment.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of good. There is, but I guess I don't see great. Yeah. And that's my issue.
Not yet.
Maybe that changes. Thanks for watching, homies. Hit subscribe to see all my Unbuttoned videos. You get to see me, Ahmed Fareed, all the big player breakdowns, game breakdowns, player interviews, and my film analysis. So please subscribe. Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Peace out.